Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello everyone and welcome back. If you remember, in the last session we covered the topic titled typographic construction, and we looked into multiple attributes which are important when we are selecting a font or a typeface, and also when we are using it for any project or any design work. If you remember, we also talked about space, and we concluded that typography is more about understanding form and counterform, or understanding the space. And we, just to make you understand, we look into multiple terminologies, for example, indent, leading, kerning, spacing, all things which has to do with the space and space division. Now in this session, we will move forward and we will look into typographic principles and its role in creating powerful design. Typographic principles are foundational guidelines in graphic design that ensures text is both visually appealing and functional for any effective communication. These principles are like the concepts we discussed during the third module, in which Professor Saurav has taken you through the understanding of design principles and its uses in graphic design. Do you remember those discussions? Because those discussions are going to help you out when I'm taking you through this typographic principle. So in this session, we will examine these principles from a typographic perspective and try to understand how different typographic attributes can help create stunning and functional design. If you look at the reading direction, it significantly influences typography because it determines how readers navigate through content and impacts the layout, alignment, and flow of the text. So, as a designer, one must consider their audience culture and linguistic context to ensure that typography aligns with natural reading patterns. Understanding the natural reading pattern flow ensures that typography enhances readability, supports cultural expectation, and creates an intuitive user experience. Just for example, in Western language such as English or Latin, texts naturally start from the left to right, okay, and it moves towards the right. In our screen, the Latin style is visible towards your left. So in that case, the left aligned text is preferred for body content, as it creates a predictable starting point. So it starts, so the left side is all starting from the one point, and accordingly it improves readability. Also, because navigation is from left to right, reader often look at the top left corner first, so important information or headings are placed there. So in case of Latin, most probably the important content will come here, the top left corner. Similarly, the whole concept and planning will change if the reading direction is from right to left. For example, you look into Arabic language, right, or Hebrew. So now the first emphasis goes to the top right corner, which is the second example which is visible on the screen. So here, right, because you are starting reading from this direction and going towards the left. This is exactly opposite to the Latin, right? So if the designer is not aware of this, and follows Western language approach, the design will not work, right? And this is also important for any other language, for example Chinese, where you read it from top to bottom, and then in Greek where it is going towards right and then coming back to left and then right and then left. So it is going like this. So all this reading habits and direction and approaches decides the overall layout and use of typography. There are different typographic principles which can help to create an engaging and functional design. As said earlier, these principles are like principles we have covered in detail during sessions on design principles. However, here it has been visualized and understood in reference to the typography or letters. The first important principle in this category is focal point. A focal point is the area of composition that immediately draws the viewer's attention. It acts as a visual anchor, guiding the viewer's eye to the most important part of the design first. A well-designed focal point enhances communication by ensuring that the key messages or element is noticed and understood in first go. This can be achieved by contrast in size, shape, typeface, color and texture. So if you look at the screen, here the contrast has been created by playing with the size of the letters. So you have number 4 which has been increased significantly in size, and that has been used as a base or a background to write the text content, the title. And also it has been placed in the center, and the background color, which is this purple and black, which is kind of leading your eyes towards the center. So altogether it is creating a very powerful and impactful design, and creating a central focal point. In these two posters, size and color plays very important role in terms of creating a focal point, right? So here first, when you look into these posters, the first emphasis goes here. Or if you look at the second poster, because of the red color and then the black which has been used prominently, it is getting eyes attracted toward that element first, and then accordingly you can navigate through the other part of the poster, right? And in terms of balance, left one is very much balanced and stable, whereas right side example is very dynamic because of the placement or orientation of design elements. This is a calligraphic artwork by Professor R.K. Joshi. He was a renowned Indian typographer, calligrapher and type designer who significantly contributed to the field of Indian typography. On the screen, this is a beautiful example of typographic mandala design using the Devanagari script. The concentric circular text and then the sacred syllable Om, right? So on this corner, around Om you will find these concentric circles of the letters. So these two in the center becomes the focal point of the whole composition. The concentric arrangement creates a meditative effect, drawing the viewer's attention towards the center. This composition showcases how type can transcend its functional role to become a profound visual and symbolic language. We have covered hierarchy as a design principle in Module 3 when Professor Saurav was talking about different design principles. So if you look into typography or concerning typography, hierarchy refers to the level of importance expressed by a piece of text in an environment, right? So there are various factors. They may indicate a composition's hierarchy, such as letter form size, letter form weight, letter form design characteristics, text color, text contrast with the background, text position and orientation. While working on any project, one must establish a visual distinction between different text labels. For example, if there is a heading, just look at on my slide. So there is heading which says hierarchy and there is a body text. So if there is a heading, subheading and body text, accordingly the differentiation should happen. Then only a proper hierarchy can be built. In the poster which is visible towards your right on the screen, here you will see the letter form size. There are 3 different sizes, and also in terms of placement which has been used to create a proper visual hierarchy. This is another example where the hierarchy has been created by playing with color, right? So there are red color which has been highlighted. Then you will also see the text size, so different size, and then also in terms of placement of the content. So in the top portion you will find the bigger and the more prominent content, and then if you look into this body text, which is very small and very secondary in nature. So that means you have a different ways, different mediums, different attributes through which you can create this hierarchy within a composition. And when you are specifically looking into the text, then you have size, weight, contrast, color, all those things going to help you out. In this example, hierarchy has been created through font size, color, and proper grid system. Now the content has been segregated and separated as per the grid, which is visible on the screen. However, we will discuss the grid system in detail during our print and publication module. Unity creates harmony by ensuring all design elements feel cohesive and interconnected, giving a sense of completeness to any design. Whereas if you talk about variety introduces contrast and differences, adding interest and preventing monotony. Together, unity ensures balance while variety keeps the design dynamic, engaging, right? And this engagement happens through a thoughtful interplay of consistent and diverse visual elements. If you look into the ways how we can do this, repetition is one way to achieve unity through color. For example, using shape, size, placement, arrangement, and order or depth. So typography variety is one of the primary tool used to create a hierarchy by varying different attributes such as the typeface size, tone, color, texture, placement, weight, width, position, etc. A publication design is an excellent example to understand the interplay of unity and variety. For example, if you have a book design, right, and you have multiple chapters, many times the designer pick a specific color to start each chapter, right? For example, you are starting with black whenever any chapter is starting. Also, a designer pick a specific title size, okay, specific font size whenever he is starting, he or she is starting any chapters within the whole publication. So these elements which are kind of getting repeated across the books, across the pages uniformly brings unity, and at the same time there are multiple other attributes through which a designer creates variety and thus helping out in terms of creating interest. Clear? Now if you look at this image, in this image of wine bottles, though the products are different, right? There are different products, but through different attributes you can say, for example, characteristic features such as bottle shape, font size, and placement of the content, it creates a unity within the variety of the elements, right? And if you look at the placement, this is just a repetition of similar characteristic features or attributes across the bottle. So if you look in the top, a similar kind of treatment has been given. In the center, you have another treatment, but it is just the repetition, right? And so the placement is playing a major role. The kind of font which has been used and repeated is playing a major role. The size is also playing a major role in terms of creating a unity. So I hope to you it is now clear how color, shape, size and placement and arrangement or order can be used to create unity within a composition. This is another excellent example, excellent work by Professor R.K. Joshi. Here the repetition of similar calligraphic strokes plays its role in terms of creating unity and variety in a single composition. Right? So you feel like everything is connected and all the letters are going in a diagonal angle. Symmetry and asymmetry. This is again, we have discussed this in design principles, but with respect to typography, let us understand this. So these are the two fundamental approaches in design and layout that affects composition's balance and visual dynamics. The poster, if you look at on your left, is an example of symmetrical typographic balance. So here if you look at the composition, though the letter forms are different, the letter's visual weight is acting as a attribute which can be divided into two equal parts, and that's why it looks very symmetrical. This is an example of asymmetrical composition. Here, though the distribution of element in both poster is uneven, yet it still achieves balance by using contrast, spacing and visual weight. Because of this, it creates a very dynamic and engaging design. So if you compare symmetry and asymmetry in terms of balance, symmetry is equal and most of the time mirror, whereas asymmetry is unequal yet visually balanced. Symmetry helps to create stable, harmonious and traditional visual impact compared to dynamic, energetic and modern in asymmetric design. In terms of ease of use, symmetrical is straightforward to create, whereas asymmetrical composition requires more creative skills. Symmetry is more formal and structured, whereas asymmetry is informal and creative. Another important typographic principle is playing with white space. So white space, also known as negative space, refers to the empty or unused area between and around the design element. It does not necessarily have to be white. It can be any background color, pattern or texture. So white space provides breathing room for visual elements, and I'm sure you have Saurav has already discussed this during on the module on design principles. So this white space helps create a clean, organized and aesthetically pleasing design. It also helps to improve readability, enhance focus and emphasis, because when you have a more white space in the surrounding, suddenly the content or the element which you are placing in the composition, it become very focused. So it helps out to create balance, harmony, and it supports visual hierarchy and improve user experience as well. So in these two typographic poster, white space has been used effectively to highlight the content. For example, in the first poster, you have a huge surroundings space, which helps to create more focus on the central element which is there, and also because of the color, it is more emphasized. Okay, so similarly, in the second poster, you see there is enough breathing space, and because of that, the central element is getting emphasized. Also, these two top and bottom part is helping out to make eye focus on the main content which is in the center. So the contrast is another important principle. One can combine different typefaces, size, weight and color to create emphasis and draw attention. So for example, large bold headlines paired with smaller body text or light text on a dark background or vice versa helps to create and effective contrast within a composition. Font size and weight can help to create contrast within the text composition. If you look at the screen, this is the font Avenir Next, which has been written in 60 point size. The point size is same, but depending on the weight, you see there is a contrast between each. So a designer can play with when he or she is picking a certain typeface. He can just look into different variation within in terms of contrast and then pick the suitable one to create the hierarchy and emphasis and interest within the composition. The example which is in your right, this example explores weight, size to create contrast within the text composition. That means one should be very wise to pick suitable font size and weight to create exciting design composition. Another thing is consistency. Consistency in typography refers to the uniform and predictable use of type elements throughout a design or a project. It ensures that the text appears cohesive and professional, making it easier for an audience to understand and engage with the content. So how this can be achieved? One can use a limited set of typefaces, generally 2 or 3, to maintain a unified design. So for example, if you're using so many font or typefaces within a composition, there will be a lot of chaos. So the idea is either you use one typeface with multiple fonts in a different weight and sizes, or just combine 2 or 3 maximum to maintain a unified design. Also, establishing a style guide for font size, weights and alignment helps in creating a consistency. This is an example of paperboard products. Here 6 different products are shown on the screen, right? And if you divide them into a group, maybe you can put them into 2 different groups, right? 2 different categories. One is juice and another is this chicky, which you can eat and consume. So the liquid and then solid. But there is a consistency in their visual appearance. And this has been achieved by placement of text, content, weight of the font, which has been used, treatment to the graphical elements, right? So if you look at this, you will find all this, the title, the name has been kept on a similar label, and it's similar kind of graphical elements you see. Same font has been used, though there is a variation in terms of products. So let us see some more example to understand all the concept we have just discussed, such as focal point, hierarchy, unity, variety, symmetry and asymmetry, white space, contrast and consistency. Remember this white space, it is coming again and again. That means it has a very significant role in graphic design. And if one has a skill to understand and then know how to use it, most probably half of the job is done. And you will be able to create a very powerful design. So if you look at this example, this is an excellent example of understanding focus, contrast, white space, consistency, right? So the contrast has been created in terms of weight, so very large, and then size as well. So large letters combined with a very small size letters which is coming as a body text. And then there is a hierarchy which has been created with the different size. But one should remember that like design elements, these principles do not work in isolation. Instead, they work together in synergy to make a composition visually powerful and functional. This example emphasizes more on focus and contrast. Again, the contrast has been created in terms of using text, half of the part as a text, and then in a image format, and then half of the part as an image. So you have a very striking contrast between these two parts, and at the same time there is a contrast with the background. So this is another example where focus, contrast and white space is playing its role. Okay, I have just highlighted these three, but you will find other design principles as well. So now also in terms of alignment and placement, orientation of the text, so it is diagonal and crossing each other, and then in the center there is a face of the cow. So everything is kind of making it very much emphasized, and at the same time you see there is a sufficient white space or breathing space which has been provided, so that the main content will be consumed first and it will be emphasized. So alright, then we will stop here. I hope you will remember all the concepts we have just covered. In our next video lecture, we will explore environmental typography and try to understand the role of typography in physical space.